Boss in the building. My guy. Bumping that Young Joker mixtape before we started recording.
Yo, Kadarius Toney, bro. That's your first round pick.
Oh, man.
Trying to give you the inside scoop on him, you know? Check his YouTube.
You were like, yo, you know he's a rapper, right? I'm like, oh, my God. I can't wait for the report. Yeah, Tony decides to go pursue his music career.
You didn't know that?
Nah, I had no idea, man.
Bro. Young Joker.
I saw someone, because I was like creeping on his page after the Giants took him. And I saw someone like was writing that Young Joker. I was like, what the hell? And then I didn't know if that was like a friend of his or someone he knew. But now, oh my goodness.
You got some pregame music to bump now. Every Sunday.
Yo, if he starts like running wild and I'll download
every
the
time he
mixtape.
makes a crazy reception, you just gotta turn on Young Joker.
Yo, if he has a good game and you see me on my Instagram, just like repost on Spotify one of his songs, it's because of that Young Joker.
That's fire.
Oh man, what's good, bro? How you been?
Everything good. Same old shit. I feel like we were just here. We were just talking about it. How last time I was in here was Poirier Conor 2.
Yeah,
Now 3 is booked, and it's creeping up pretty fast. About a month away.
bro. It's been like almost 4 months since you were in here.
Yeah.
And dead ass feels like it was yesterday. Because also what I was doing is, so I got this hard drive for all the videos. And like I have it in alphabetical order, like the folders of, you know, Allen, 1 and whatever it might be. And then I saw yours, Boss. And I was clicking on it because also the background looked a little different because I changed the panels and whatnot. But I was like, damn, son, that shit was middle of January, bro.
Yeah. The heart of winter. Thank God that's, happy it's May now. The cold's behind us. Summer's coming. But yeah, it feels like yesterday. It does.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you mentioned Poirier Conor 2. That was when we linked up, but now the third one has been booked for July. Vegas. How you feeling about this third one, man? Well, first of all, let me ask you this, because we're going to talk about 262 also this weekend, but it's crazy how that title fight, Chandler Oliveira, has a lot to do with like that Poirier Conor 3, because I'm sure they went to Poirier first and were like, yo, do you want that title shot?
100%.
And he's like, nah, I'll take the Conor fight. Especially with a crowd now, too. That person's probably going to be bigger.
Yeah, it's sold out. That's the first Vegas event in T-Mobile that's going to be sold out. But yeah, they probably went to Poirier, and Poirier, Poirier had the interim title, right? He fought Khabib to unify it, lost. At this point in his career, he's probably like, yo, just get the money. Because the title fight's going to be there for him, I think, win or lose. So I feel like he has the best of both worlds right now. Because you got the Conor fight, get your money. And then if you really want it, he probably only has like a couple more fights left in him. Because how long Poirier's been around the game? Forever.
Been in some wars, too.
Forever, yeah. And so, yeah, he's got it. And then he can get his title shot. And if he wins the title, he just rides off into the sunset as a champion and with his money. So I think he did the right thing. And the title fight, even coming up this weekend, is super interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like a 55 showcase, the next 2 pay-per-views.
Yeah. What's pretty wild is sometimes you forget just how long some of these dudes have been in the game. Like Whitaker is 30 now. Max is 29. And those 2 guys have kind of been around the block, too. A lot of fights. Poirier, too, I believe is 32 or 33.
Uh-huh.
And because his birthday, I remember on Embedded, was the week of the Conor fight, Conor 2.
Right.
It's like, yo, the wear and tear on those guys is just so wild.
Yeah. We were even talking about it this past weekend when Neil Magny fought. I feel like Neil Magny's been around forever, like a gatekeeper forever.
Yeah.
And he's in his early 30s. Like they're like, these guys are in the prime of their careers, and we're like ready to write them off as like old, washed up, grizzled vets. Not washed up, but like, you know what I mean.
You want to hear something super washed up? You know how they do the tail of the tape and they show the person's age?
Yeah. With
a beer in my hand on my recliner watching the fights over the weekend, they showed someone 30. And I was like, damn, son, he's mad old. I'm 30.
Here I am on my couch with a beer.
Yeah, drinking a beer. Because, like, yo, also the other thing that I saw was Adesanya is 32. And then they showed, like, John Jones at 32. It's, like, all the title defenses. And, like, Izzy didn't make his debut. And Romero Rockhold, the reason why I remember that is because that was quali season for me. Shout out to Josh in the qualifier this weekend going after that 100K. But Adesanya was unknown, the kickboxer coming in. He was only like 16% owned, 25 people. So like only 4 or 5 of us had him. And I remember he was like 28 years old.
Yeah.
I know he's fought a lot though. He's been really active.
But he was like a legend too before. Like if you didn't know like UFC or just like any I guess martial arts, like if you knew martial arts, you knew he was a legend.
Yeah.
He's a legendary kickboxer. So we knew like you knew that coming in. I forgot who he fought too. The name Wilkerson. Yeah. And like just dispose. Did that go to the decision? No, he got the finish. He got the finish. Like disposed of him pretty easy. Remember he like seemed upset with it too.
He wasn't happy with his performance.
Was like shrugging or whatever. Like, yo, this dude's light years ahead of this competition. Like
for real. Like right.
But they did fast track him pretty much. But
they did, but rightfully so, right? When you look at it now,
his resume has
been so dominant.
Stupid.
I want to get to Adesanya in a second, but let's go back to Poirier and Conor. How do you feel this one might play out? Because I'm leaning. I remember last time we spoke about how it was kind of wild how much of an underdog Dustin was, right? He was like plus 260 kind of. And I bet Dustin in that fight, even though I picked Conor to win, because I just felt like the line was too wide. Like, it made no sense for me.
Yeah.
But with this one now, it's interesting because both of them are coming off finishes of the other. I know, granted, many years before. But what do you make of Conor saying that he was preparing for a boxing fight, and that's why he was so wide stance and whatnot?
I think that's just Conor's semantics, like just talking, just to talk. But he says after that fight, it'll be interesting to see like the lead up to that fight with the press conference and like all the embedded in the videos and shit. Because right after that, he's like, "Yo, no more Mr. Nice Guy." Because remember how like cordial he was and like very respectful and like very un-Conor from pre-money days. Bro, who the fuck is this guy? Is like legendary.
Mouth, you fools! Yeah, he's going off. That's the best Conor, though, is it not?
When he's fighting, that's when he's fighting. Like, but the best Conor.
Even not even the press. Like, obviously, that's the best Conor that we like as fans because it's entertaining and shit, and the embeddeds get more interesting.
Yeah,
but that's the best Conor. I think the way he performs too.
100%. I remember if you like looked at the embeddeds from this past fight with Poirier in January. He went back to the first fight and was like, "Bro, remember they saw each other across like the hotel
in the lobby
hallway, from way afar." He's like, "Yo, I can't stand that guy." He's like, "Just the sight of him, I just want to fight him." And Mike Brown's like, "Yo, chill." He's like, "Yo, I can't wait to put my hands on him," because that's how like Conor's all freaking mind games, bro. And he hasn't done that. He did that with Khabib. He got humbled,
right.
And then Poirier, he was like respectful, came back, all this stuff, and it didn't work out. He got finished. Granted, you got to give him credit, though. He was landing good shots on Poirier, and Poirier freaking hung in there.
Yo, so, okay, I'm glad that you bring that up because I feel as if there's a little misconception with that fight. Conor looked very good in that first round.
His hands won that
first round, too.
Yeah.
Right? But the leg kicks were put in that first round and then added up in the second round. But this idea that he's washed, I'm not buying into that. First of all, what we were saying before that fight, too, is Poirier is not a scrub. He's not fighting... hats off to Cowboy. Like, Cowboy's been on the decline, too. And I know that's Conor's, last win was against Cowboy. How good does that look now in hindsight? But Poirier's not like Cowboy or Diego Sanchez kind of. Like, Poirier.
Nah, I don't think anyone thought that, though, of Poirier.
No, I know, but from what the line showed and also, like, people saying that Conor is washed is where I disagree because I still think Conor has all the makings of being a champion and being what he once was. Now, it must be easier to prepare when you're coming off a yacht, right? Or, like, your mindset probably isn't the same. That's one thing that people have been nitpicking at, like, yo, it's hard for you to be a savage when you're sleeping on silk sheets.
Right.
I think I heard Joe Rogan or John Anik say that. But, like, this notion that Conor is shot, I disagree with because, one, Poirier is a beast. And also, he looked really good in that first round.
Yeah, no, for sure. And people were blasting him, too, because he went to where, like Lisbon or something in Portugal to train.
Yeah, to train, yeah.
And it's like... if you're gonna train MMA, like I feel like you gotta be in the gym with savages that every day. Like he did his own thing, and the McGregor fasting was like, and he just like isolated himself. I feel like MMA is a sport where you gotta have like different looks in the gym. Like Poirier is an American Top Team. We talked about that. Like that, you get looks from millions of pros every day. Like that gym is one of the biggest gyms in the world, really, when it comes to MMA. So it's like Conor going to Portugal off the Cowboy win, which was a year. It was a year off, a year layoff, and it's like you're not really getting what looks are you getting there, And like Poirier's there, he's probably getting Masvidal, he's getting a bunch like Thiago Alves is the coach there.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of like 55, 70 guys in top team that he's getting looks from every day, new looks, wrestling looks, striking looks. It's like McGregor's not getting those looks. So I thought that was a huge advantage for Poirier. And again, like you said, like why is the line so separated, you know? But to be fair, like no one knew. I don't think anyone knew until the embeddeds came out that he was training in Portugal by himself. So we'll see. I think he probably went back he said he was going back to his old roots this camp. But yeah, I expect much better Conor, especially if he's gonna be talking shit and like they were talking about exchanging whiskey and hot sauce at the press conference. Like it's not gonna be like that this time. I think Conor's gonna come with some fire.
Yeah,
especially what happened with the charity.
I was gonna bring up the charity, which is really interesting. I don't know if people caught on to it because they might have just saw that Conor donated $500,000, like he said he was, to a place in Louisiana, but it wasn't
Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, it wasn't the Good Fight Foundation, which is Poirier. So that was like something where, you know, that city now in that area, that Boys and Girls Club, which I don't know how far Poirier lives from there, but it's like, damn, son, Conor just donated here. They're probably all going to be rooting for Conor now in my own hometown, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine,
damn, I didn't even think of that.
Imagine this, right? Imagine, like, you know, I'm from Astoria, so we don't need to imagine that. But like, say I was a fighter, right? And I had my foundation, and Conor just donated to like LIC High School, and I'm always driving by LIC, and this is like my hometown, you know, like I've done so much for the community, but now it's like, go Conor, go Notorious one. You're like, hey, I'm son in my own hood. You're just rooting against me.
And Conor's like a top flight, like already world pop. You know what I'm saying? Now he's coming into your hometown.
Your own hometown, the one place where you felt untouchable. Now he's dominating there.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that, to be honest. I was thinking about like the disrespect side. Like Poirier's like, yo, we had an agreement in place. You know, you're helping out a ton of. I mean, charity work is still phenomenal. So,
right.
Like, hats off to Conor, but it's just like it's gonna play into the storyline. That's just how it is. Like it was done. Probably in goodwill, but also deliberately. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone knows that. Yeah.
Dude, how many fights do you think Conor won before they even stepped into the cage with his mind games?
So many. Aldo was the GOAT at 45. And this dude, like, was taking the belt from him in Brazil and shit, like, doing crazy shit. And, like, come on, that threw Aldo off his game. Aldo came out like a madman, got clipped. Yeah. And you saw that's, like, the famous clip in the back where he's like, yo, he's going to come at me. And I'm just going to hit him with the left. And that's exactly what happened.
That's so wild when you see that get played back. Like Masvidal with the knee, right? Like, obviously, after the fact is when they, like, show it because it looks way cooler. But also, you know, I think he beat Eddie Alvarez at the press conference. He beat Chad Mendes, granted on a short camp for Mendes. But all the guys, and then, you know, with Khabib, it didn't work like you said, because like Khabib don't play that like trash talking shit. Like even with Tony, he would just.
Bro, you
like,
saw it after the fight with Khabib. He don't play.
Right, he definitely don't play that. With Nate Diaz, it's like Nate loved that shit too. Nate was
that's
just
Nate's
like,
right up his alley. I'll fight you right now.
Yeah. So it was very interesting to see Conor be super humble with Cowboy, right? He was super humble with Cowboy, and then he was super humble with Poirier. But nah, this is the Conor that we like to see, man.
I think we're gonna see it for sure in the press conference. And the best part about it now, like we saw at the last pay-per-view, is there's fans at the press conferences now. So it's gonna be real. It's gonna heat up. It's gonna heat up, and it's always like the day before weigh-ins or 2 days before weigh-ins. So shit's gonna get interesting for sure.
And now you mentioned something important. They're gonna have fans moving forward. All the pay-per-views are gonna have fans. Like they just had all the people that they had for 261 in Jacksonville. Houston's going to be sold out. Arizona is Vittori Adesanya. And then obviously the Poirier Conor 3 in Vegas. How you feel about the fans coming back? Did you miss them, bro?
Hell yeah, bro.
How could you not?
The first fight of the night on the Jacksonville card was like extreme. It could have been a regional women's MMA fight. Like it was pretty low level, but it was also an exciting fight. And the fans just made it that much better. Bro, fight 1, like... I was like, yo, what the fuck? It's the first fight. Usually there's no one in the crowd.
Yo, that's what I was thinking, bro.
I was like, this shit sounds electric. I was like, yo, is this shit like noise pumped? Because I was watching on my phone. I was driving home. I was like, yo, is this shit like getting crowd noise pumped into it? And I was like, nah, they were panning to the fans. Shit was pretty full for the first fight.
Yeah, dude, we've been to so many events, and we like to go from the beginning.
Yeah.
So, like, for us, it's different. But even so, you realize a lot of empty seats until, like, around, you know, if pay-per-view starts at 10, around, like, 8:30-ish.
That might even be generous.
Yeah, I might even be generous, especially out in Vegas. Like, I remember when I went to the Vegas card.
Vegas is the worst.
Because it was, the pay-per-view started at 7. It was still not a lot of people there. like the first fight went on, and I think until O'Malley fought was when it got like full. Because I remember telling my boy Mike, who I was sitting with, I told him, dude, is this not going to sell out? He's like, nah, bro, this is how it always is.
I was about to say, he probably said,
yeah, he's like, yo, this is how it always is. He's like, honestly, bro, he's like, people don't come until like the last 3 fights, usually in Vegas. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then you connect the dots, like, oh shit, it's only 8 o'clock out there.
Yeah.
Yo, I ruined my whole night when I was out in Vegas, bro, because Romero Adesanya ended, and it was like 10 o'clock, and I was hammered.
Yeah, for us on the East Coast, it's time for bed.
Time for bed, yeah, but it was time for bed for me too, because I was fucking boozing the whole time.
I know, but at that time, it's like time to go out now.
Right, yeah.
In Vegas.
But yo, would you? I asked Alan this, and he said he didn't feel comfortable going yet. Would you feel comfortable going?
Yeah, 100%. I'm like itching to go.
Me
like
too,
first,
man.
I haven't been to a sporting event yet, but we'll see. I think coming up in June, I might go on a little road trip. Check something out.
To Zona?
Philly. Nah, Philly.
Oh.
Yeah, for a baseball game. But yeah, like if UFC comes anywhere up here in like driving distance, I would go. I don't know about like flying because, I mean, I love the UFC, but like paying it's a lot of money to attend an event, and the prices are probably jacked up as it is for tickets. So, but if they come anywhere like in the Northeast in driving range, which I don't know if it's gonna be soon, but a lot of shit's opening up now, so we'll see. But yeah, first event up in the Northeast, I'd be down to drive to and go for sure.
There's usually a card every year in November at the Garden.
Yeah.
Any word on that? Do we know?
Nah, I mean, I think they're just playing it by year. Like, whatever state opens first, they're going to like, try and get in there.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is because, like, the Garden has had mad people for Rangers and Knicks games. And I know for the playoffs now, I believe they're going to try to do 50% capacity for the Garden, which is, like, close to about 8,000 to 9,000 people.
Yeah. But you know Dana, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, Dana's like, yo,
sold out. It's got to be open.
Yeah.
And New York's not going to be like that. Probably maybe November. I mean, honestly, like that's a legitimate possibility.
Well, yeah, there are baby steps, right? For us, July 1st, they said they were going like full capacity bars and clubs.
Yeah. Well, I think restaurants already has like indoor dining at full capacity. So, I mean, it's like slowly but surely. The Islanders are in the playoffs. They're having like 50%.
Yeah, he love it.
They have these like, They have these like little things in place though about like vaccinated people. It can be like, I don't know, I guess they're going to be in the lower bowl. It's like 50% unvaccinated, needs more social distance. So it's going to be, like, I guess, weird with the seating. Even with Yankee Stadium, I don't know how that's going to work out, but that's what they said. It's going to be like 50% capacity, and it's like vaccinated people can sit next to each other, no social distancing, need masks, though, and then unvaccinated it's like going to be like pod seating still, as it is like right now.
Yo, it's so wild when you're watching the scenes of the fans in Jacksonville, like no mask, people on top of each other. What about the fighters? The fighters like taking pictures and grabbing and shit. It's kind of wild to me.
It's cool to see.
It was dope to see,
like,
but we've just become so accustomed now where that's like weird. And then when you saw that, you're like, damn, son, there's a sense of normalcy coming back a little bit.
Yeah, I saw even like Dana in his post fight press conference. He was like, if you want to wear a mask. If you don't. Like,
yeah.
He was like, we're going to come wherever people are opening and sell out events. He's like, that's what we're going to do. He's like, you can still wear your mask inside. If not, like, no one's going to say anything either. Yeah. And we're just going to go as is.
You know what was cool about Dana when he was reading? Because I always watch after the UFC pay-per-views. I always watch the press conferences. And he was like, I've been waiting a long fucking time to say this. It's like the gate was like 3.1 million or some shit.
Yeah.
But it was cool though, because like, look, Dana gets a lot of heat for a lot of different reasons, and rightfully so too. Like some of the fighters, like the close fight with Stevens, it's kind of wild that they were holding out and not paying close for at least his show money.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not pay him for that? Like, I had nothing to do with.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That was wild, bro. But with Dana, like, I like how he kept his word. Like he was saying in the beginning, how Jacksonville was the first city to like allow them to do the Ferguson Gaethje, and he made a promise to like the mayor, I think, of Jacksonville, like, yo, the moment I could do full capacity in the States, you're getting the first event.
Right.
And he did.
That was pretty sweet. That's loyalty.
Yeah,
I respect that. Yeah, that's crazy. Because, like, Jacksonville is never getting a pay-per-view ever again.
Yeah, they're probably not.
If we're being honest.
Yeah.
It's like the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl's never going back to Jacksonville.
I remember you were saying how you took a class in Syracuse, right? Like a Super Bowl class.
3 credits, baby.
Let's go. And I remember when I went to that Super Bowl, the city was so overwhelmed with people that they had to bring in cruise ships to, like, host.
Oh, I learned that in the class.
Yeah, to, like, host people.
Like, yo, it was that much of a disaster that, like, they couldn't get hotel rooms. They needed... There's mad requirements to host the Super Bowl, like capacity hotel capacity is one of them. So, but yeah, they're like, yo, it's so bad that they're never going back.
Yeah, and they also say that it's close to like about $600 million that the city brings in
Oh yeah,
revenue
the revenue is
during
insane.
that week. So it's a big event when like cities bid for Super Bowls and shit.
Yeah, it's no
Yo,
joke.
speaking of fans, did you happen to catch any of the boxing over the weekend with Canelo?
I caught a little bit of it. I didn't have audio, but yeah,
Over 70,000 people.
Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Cowboy Stadium.
Cowboy Stadium.
Jerry probably was eating that shit up.
Yeah, Canelo won his fight, stoppage in the 8th round with like shut the guy's eye. But my question to you is, and maybe I was living under a rock, I don't know, but like pretty much everyone that I follow on social media is all sports based, and like a bunch of my friends and a bunch of like girls on Instagram in bikinis and shit. But for the most part, like it's all sports people, right? I didn't know Canelo was fighting until like Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I knew about Jake Paul fighting like the end of February when he was going to fight in the middle of April.
Right. Yeah.
That's not concerning? If you're boxing?
Yeah.
That's your biggest fighter. That's like, who would you equate Canelo to as far as star power in the UFC? Like, imagine if, I don't know, if Conor was to fight and you just didn't know about it until the week of or the Wednesday of.
Right.
It's kind of crazy, man.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah. It's just like Jake Paul. But it's all down to like promotion. Like Jake Paul, he's American and he does all this stupid shit. Like he's a troll. He's a troll. And he's freaking everywhere. Like you saw it this past weekend. He's not even fighting. And he's taking Floyd Mayweather's hat and like stupid shit like that. So I guess he just knows how to keep himself like relevant. I mean, granted, he has like double the following Canelo has on Instagram. So more people know who Jake Paul is than they do Canelo. And Canelo is the face, like, I don't want to say the face of boxing, but at least I don't even know like the weight in boxing like that, but he's got to be the most popular little, smaller guy. I mean, the heavyweights, you have Tyson Fury, Joshua, we all know like Deontay Wilder. But yeah, that is crazy. Like that's kind of concerning. Like you don't know Canelo's fighting till the weekend. It was just, even as a casual fan, like
it was just so weird to me. Like, look, boxing to me, it's weird. I tune in for main events, which I think a lot of people do. But to me, I like the UFC so much more. The UFC now has become, I think, my favorite sport. It's sort of surpassed football in a way, especially like in person. I don't think anything comes close to that. I feel like the UFC should be giving me a check because I always say like, yo, go to a UFC event if you have a chance, or MMA. But dude, if you're boxing, how can you let that happen? And I understand there's the language barrier. That's always something. Like I know in wrestling, when you have a guy like Nakamura, right? He comes over from Japan and he's like the biggest star that they had there. But in the States, his English is very bad because that's his second language, you know? So there's always that barrier. But I still feel like you should be able to work around that and market him.
Right.
Where it's just so weird to me that Canelo Alvarez, like, so many casuals know that name.
100%.
But to not
I know that name. Like, I don't even watch boxing like that.
Right, but when I say casual, I don't really include you because you're like a sports fan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know who Lewis Hamilton is just because of the Formula One. Like,
right.
I've never watched Formula One, but he's the biggest name in Formula One, right? So, like, I feel as if Canelo is a very popular just name in sports.
Yeah. And it's great. Like, I don't know. It's all has to do with, like, promoting, obviously, but like also like the promotion itself. Like I don't even know. There's so many boxing promotions, and it's just like MMA. You have like UFC, Bellator, and PFL. Like those are like the big three, I would say. Right? Yeah, those got to be the big three. Like professional,
well, especially in the States, right? Unless you include like one, which is overseas.
Right. Then you have one risen. Right. The overseas ones, but like in the States with boxing, it's just like there's so many promotions. Like I don't know, I can't keep up with it myself. Like I don't even follow boxing like that, but that's already hard to keep up with. And then like you don't promote your best, face of the company or the face of boxing, Canelo, enough to where like people should know he's fighting. Obviously, a lot of people know he's fighting. Like they sold it out, 73,000 people were there. Yeah. But like it probably didn't have the hype. I would love to know like with the buys. I'm sure like with the matchup with Jake Paul and Ben Askren, like that would be fun to look at. But yeah, they got to do a better job promoting Canelo Alvarez. Like that is a little crazy.
Well, you bring up a good point about the belts and the divisions. what's dope about the UFC is you know who the 155 champ is. Well, at the time you don't now because it's vacated.
Yeah.
But you know who's holding the 170. There's one guy, right? You know who the heavyweight champion is. It's Ngannou. But then you watch boxing, it's like
There's so many promotions.
this guy's holding 5 belts, the other guy's holding 3 belts at like 168. And you're like, come on, what's going on? Can we get just one belt? And I know there's so many different promotions. I get that. But I think it becomes more of a lucrative title if you just have one. That guy's the best 142 pounder in the world, right? Like, you're the best welterweight. Usman, 170, you know, right? There's a 170 in Bellator, right? Douglas Lima. But at least, you know, like for that promotion, that's the guy at that title and weight class, and that's the guy at that title and weight class.
Yeah. No, I agree. But that's why, like, people are like, yo, how does boxing have so much money? Like, boxing is $1 billion, like, sport. Going back, like, they were the first martial art that probably blew up, obviously. Like, it was big in the 70s, 80s, and then the 90s with Tyson, early 2000s. MMA kind of didn't jump on the scene until what? I mean, it was around in the 90s, but like what, late 2000s? It was kind of
say
big.
like the Chuck Liddell,
yeah,
Chuck Liddell, Tito,
and they were only putting on like pay-per-views back then, so
right.
It was like one event every month. Now they have an event every weekend. Like, that's how much the sport has grown in terms of like roster size and people practicing it and stuff. Like, you practice martial arts now, you know, like you're never too old to practice it, and you can go pro at a later age, especially like the heavier weights. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like MMA has grown exponentially, obviously, and boxing like has just, I feel like, flatlined a little bit. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel about it.
I do think that our generation, we hold the UFC higher, like the way it was like in the 90s with boxing, 80s and 90s with boxing. Obviously, I wasn't around during those decades.
Yeah.
But I just think, like, UFC is so popular for our demographic as opposed to boxing. Like, I think some of the issues is too many promotions, too many belts.
Not enough, like, promotion online, I think, is a big deal. Like you just said, Canelo, you know, he was fighting.
Yeah, like, that's just terrible from the promotion that has the fighters to be able to do that. Yo, why do you think boxing makes all that money?
I don't know. It's just been that way forever, right? Like,
is it the sponsors? Like,
probably. But
like the UFC has sponsors on like cages, and they got that DraftKings.
But boxing has been around since it's been around way longer. It was like the most popular martial art, or combat sport for how long? Like, boxing was it, and then MMA came on the scene. Like I said, just recently. So when you have one combat sport for dominating for how long? Like, that's where all the money goes. People sponsor guys. People probably a lot of wagering, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. You know, Clarissa Shields is making her way into MMA.
Yeah,
PFL,
GOAT women's boxer.
Yeah, she's won like 2 gold medals, undefeated boxer. Now she's going into MMA. I think that's really dope of her to try that out because she's so young too. She's like 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
And to test the waters and going into MMA, I think that's very like commendable on her end.
Yeah. I mean, you saw Conor tweet her about it. She's like, oh, he's like one champion from MMA going. He's like, talking about himself going to box. He's like, it's good to see
Conor. Any chance he gets, we'll talk about himself.
Him being a double champion.
Like, he got at Gillespie over the weekend. Like, yo, I'm the best fisherman. Like, since when does Conor fish?
And
like,
he's never gonna fight Gillespie ever.
Yeah.
That fight just doesn't make sense.
So random. But yeah, it was cool. I did see that tweet also. But you know, people want to see, because it's weird, right? Like in the UFC. The women's division outside of 115, it's terrible, bro. Like, Valentina just runs through everybody. Like, Andrade was supposed to be her biggest challenge,
but you could also argue like Valentina is just that great too.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, Valentina is special.
Yeah,
you can't. I don't even think it's a slight on the rest of the 25ers. I think just Valentina's way before her time. Like, she's that good.
Yeah, and then Nunez the same thing, and then them two have fought. It's 2-0 Nunez. I'm of the believer that Valentina won that second fight. What do you do? Because it's the only fight that makes sense, right? Like, no one's going to fight at 145. There are some rumors that, like, Dana's going to get rid of that division, the 145 for the women's, because there's just no one that could compete with Nunez. Yeah. And also, I don't know how many women are 145ers. Yeah, they don't have rankings.
Oh, yeah.
So that's probably going to disappear. And then 135 is Nunez. it's the only fight that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, she's fought Cyborg, right, at 45.
Yeah.
And Cyborg left. Like, that was it. It was just them two at the top. Like, Kayla Harrison is around PFL. Clarissa Shields.
Well, with Kayla Harrison, why is she going to leave to go to the UFC when she's just winning that $1 million tournament every year?
And their teammates at ATT.
That too, yes.
So it's just like, does that, like, that fight make sense in terms of, like, they're the best two women out right now at, like, around that weight class? But then again, it doesn't make sense because Kayla Harrison's, she's going to get her $1 million in PFL, be the face of PFL, and, you know, and still be teammates with Nunes. And Amanda Nunes is going to do her thing in the UFC and be the GOAT. So it makes sense in terms of, like, just best versus best, but it doesn't really make sense otherwise. And, yeah, Valentina, like, she's going to have to move up probably because no way Amanda's making 25.
Hell no.
She struggles to make 35.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the only way you don't make that fight outside of it being, 2-0 Amanda, and anytime it's 2-0, like Volkanovski and Max, I think is very similar. Like some people have Max winning that second fight.
I think he 100% won that second fight.
Yeah. So what do? Do you make that a trilogy? And then what happens if Max wins? It's still 2-1 Volkanovski. Do you do? So it gets a little complicated there. I think the only way you don't do that fight between Valentina and Amanda Nunes is you don't want to jeopardize either of their legacies. Just let them be super dominant, which was what I wanted. There was a part of me, and we've talked about this before, maybe not on here, but I know we've had this conversation of guys and girls fighting up or down in divisions. You then stall the other division.
Yeah, if you're double champ.
I love Adesanya. There was a little part of me that was happy he lost to Jan, only because 185 is going to continue. Because if he beats Jan at 205, now he has the two belts. But then you're going to defend one, then take 6 months off, defend the other. Like, then it becomes basically like Stipe and DC. We're waiting for 3 years. That's the only fight that they're making for 3 years.
Yeah, Francis is waiting
Francis
since
is
220.
waiting. What about Curtis Blades, bro? That dude's never going to get a title shot. But he was so close. But what happens? Everyone's sitting around waiting for that main event fight between DC and Stipe. Blades takes on these fights.
Stay active.
To stay active and to make money, and then he loses to Lewis, and now his stock drops.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I like you said too. I'm kind of. I wasn't happy. I was like, all right, the 205 can go because like Glover Teixeira's right there too at 205. It's gonna probably his retirement fight. He's getting his chance in September. So yeah, I like the one fight thing. Like, Dylan always brings that up to me when I say Khabib is like the greatest. He's like, yo, he never went up in weight to fight for 70 or something. Like Conor went up, double champ, 45, 55. He's like, Khabib never went up. How can you be the greatest? Like, all right, I get it, but you are the greatest at what you did for how long? Like, what's there to argue, So, I mean, I understand. But I do like just having one champion instead of the double champ. I somewhat, like, hate the double champ just because, like, the things you said, like, shit gets stalled out. And we got to wait around for 6 months. Then one strap doesn't get defended for a year, and guys are in limbo. Just like everything
and then
you
have
just
an
said.
interim champ.
Yeah.
Then that gets all funky. Like, who's a real champion there?
Yeah, how many interim titles are you going to hand out while waiting for the champion to come back? It's like, I don't know. It's a lot.
It is a lot. What would you say is a fight in the women's division you're excited for moving forward? Is there one?
At 15, I think there's a ton.
Yeah, 115 strawweight is very interesting.
Because, like, Yan Jinan is like an upcoming superstar from China. She's fighting Esparza next week.
Yeah.
And, like, if Jinan wins, you could match. Like, I know that was supposed to be for the title in China, Yan versus Wei Li. But, like, you could do that now as a number one contender fight. Mm-hmm. And you can still do it in China and make it, like, a main event of a fight night or a pay-per-view or something. And that'll do numbers. Yeah. Just because of, like, the international support for that fight.
Yeah.
And then Joanna's, like, always lurking. She said she's coming back.
Joanna's lost, like, 4 straight fights, though, too.
Yeah. Well, she beat Waterson in there somewhere. But I know what you're saying. Yeah. She lost the other title fight. I think she's only fought title fights, right? Yeah. She lost to Rose twice, beat Waterson, and then fought Wei Li, I think. Yeah. So, yeah, but she's a legend, though. Like, her fighting gets me excited anytime,
And
she
still
got that much star power.
Yeah. And she's not, like, washed. She's still,
not
like,
at all.
So.
But who knows, too, like, the inactivity, it could be a big deal. She's not, like, as active as she was when she was champion. Which, rightfully so. She probably made a lot of money when she was champion. Right. She's, like, the original strawweight queen.
Yeah. What did you think of Rose's fight? Oh, by the way, you didn't.
I missed it.
Yo,
I blinked.
Yo, this is literally why MMA is so crazy. Boss is sitting here and he's looking at the TV over there, and I'm directly behind him. And I'm just like posted up on Josh's couch, and Boss just turns to me and goes, "Yo, did you?" And I just go, "Oh!" And he's like, and Boss just turns around and goes, "Fuck, yo, I missed it."
The way it leaves on the floor, and they didn't show I had no idea how she finished her.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, can I just see something?
They did take a while to
what
show
happened?
it.
What happened?
Yo,
like,
I
and
missed
you didn't
it.
say anything either. Like, yo, that was crazy.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, that was nuts. I was like, what happened, bro? Like, I was like, I don't know what happened. I literally don't know what happened.
Yo, that whole card was so crazy, bro.
The main card was...
The whole main card was, you had the Anthony Smith shit where Jimmy Crute couldn't walk.
Yeah.
You had the Weidman, which you put me on to. I stole your tweet. I should have gave you credit.
Nah.
The moment it happened, when Weidman threw the kick, you were just like, yo, that's the same way he beat Silva.
Yeah.
And like for that to then happen to him,
Yeah,
that
it
was nuts.
The irony was crazy. And it sucked. Like, no one wants to see that, you know? Like, win or loss. Like, I bet Uriah Hall that fight. I was like, not even happy. That's just a horrible thing to see. That's a human being.
I think he's the first UFC fighter to win a fight without throwing a strike.
Yeah, it was, which is nuts.
Insane.
That sucked. But yeah, and then the Rose, was it 3 title fights?
Well, Valentino was first.
Valentina got the finish.
Domination, yeah.
Rose, and then
Usman and Masvidal
knocked him out.
What'd you think of that?
Usman, I thought Masvidal had a good round 1.
Yeah, Usman, for being a quote-unquote boring fighter, he's finished his last 3 fights. Yeah. Well, 3 of the last 4.
Ever since that, remember that, was it Emil Mech when he fought? He's like, yo, it's only 30%. And Dana, like, bugged out in the press conference after that. He's like, I don't want no fucking fighter who gives 30%. Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, go out and finish someone. Because he had 1 finish until then. And, like, since he kind of, you've got to finish with, when he was with Henry Hooft, but then he started training with Trevor Whitman.
Say, when he went to
Whitman,
Whitman,
been on like another level since then.
Yeah,
but I feel like their gym is so small that he probably gets like,
oh, dude, who's at his gym? It's Gaethje, Rose, Usman.
Rockhold is there sometimes. Rockhold's like everywhere though.
Yeah, Rockhold is that right? He shows up everywhere.
He'll be with Hooft. He'll be there.
He'll be even AK. Yeah, but I think that's really it. I think they have a
very tight knit. Yeah.
I think it's better that way.
Could be. I mean, seems that way for his striking. I mean, Hooft is a great striking coach too, but like, I don't know, something. I mean, coaches are different, obviously. Like, how many coaches have you had in your life that he'll coach you one way for 8 years and you'll learn something new the first day with a new coach that'll improve your game, just like one little thing, because everyone has different eyeballs, man.
Yeah.
And those two are like 2 masterminds of the game, like Henry Hooft and Trevor Whitman. It doesn't get much better than that when it comes to the striking.
You want to see Colby go next?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm upset that this Nate and Leon fight got moved from this weekend because I have a super hot take on that one.
Cousin Nate?
Hear me out. He's fought Colby already. He's beat Burns. Obviously, Masvidal's out the picture for the title at 170. Leon is on this big winning streak. Granted, the no contest, whatever, against Bilal. But Leon's last loss is to Usman. Now, Nate Diaz literally got this fight because of star power, right?
Yeah.
Namesake. Dude, if I'm Colby, I'm signing a contract to fight Usman before that fight between Nate and Leon. Because if one of them put on a show, they're being steamrolled to the top, a title fight against Usman. Even though Nate's on a losing streak, he'd be on a 1-fight winning streak, getting a title shot.
It beat the hottest guy in the division.
Right. So if I'm Colby, I'm looking at that like, yo, we should get a contract signed way before that fight because Nate gets like a sub, Nate gets a win. Nate versus Usman would do big numbers just because Nate's there. Like, yo, for all the love that Conor gets, for all the biggest like pay-per-view buys, takes 2 to tango. Nate is in that discussion too.
Nate gets that love. The BMF title, like Nate, they'll put Nate. Yeah.
And people fuck with the Diaz brothers. You saw how crazy they went when they saw Nick Diaz
in the crowd. He wants to come back too. Yeah. Bro, imagine if Nate wins, if Nate beats Leon, and Nick is the co-main on their title fight, like his return fight at the end of the year, possibly. in like October, November in the Garden.
Oh my God.
A pipe dream.
It's poking at the bottom of the table.
How much would you'd empty the pockets for that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, first UFC event possibly return.
Imagine.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be wild.
That would be a legit possibility. That's a good point you raised. I could see it because, like, yo, Leon wins, like you said, 10 fights in a row.
Well, if Leon wins, he's getting
Very
the
worthy.
title shot.
Yeah, very worthy. And
especially
then,
with Usman saying, like, yo, I don't want to fight these guys again. Like, you got to show me something.
Yeah, Usman said he wants to fight Chiesa on the Vittori Adesanya card.
One thing I don't like about 170 was that people were just sitting around and waiting. Like, I get it why Masvidal did it because he had the built-in excuse or the built-in reason. I know Usman was saying it was an excuse. I thought it was a reason. You take the fight on 6 days' notice. You have an out. You have a legitimate claim to get an actual title shot. Colby hasn't fought since beating Woodley. And there's been fights that have been canceled left and right there or even rumored to be done.
Right.
And then with Leon, he couldn't get a fight. Like, that guy got massacred by COVID and all the craziness that went down with that.
Oh, yeah.
So, and now he gets a title fight. Well, not a title fight, but basically it is because it's the first ever co-main non-title fight to be 5 rounds.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that was a thank you. Like, he threw him a bone because, like, he was supposed to fight Woodley right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
In England. Like, that was his...
That was going to be his title shot.
Yeah. And now he's getting Nate. So, yeah. I mean, we talked about this, too, how about, like, 85. We were talking about because Robert Whittaker just fought recently.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, yo, it's so different. Like, Whittaker's fought, like, 3 times since losing the title. And, like, guys at 70, like Masvidal, Covington, all these guys want to sit out for a rematch for the title shot without earning it, without getting a couple wins under their belt quick. So, yeah. I remember Gaethje beat, who did he beat? Poirier? For the title, the interim title? No, he beat Ferg.
Ferguson.
Yeah, and then he was saying, I forgot if it was Ferg or someone. He was like, yo, guys got to get wins. Or no, he said, no, it was about him. It was about himself. I'm sorry. Gaethje, they were talking about he lost to Khabib and like, oh, you deserve an immediate rematch because it's vacated. He's like, nah, I think I need a win or two. Like, and that's the way it should be. You have to get a couple wins. And then obviously you could say Covington beat Woodley, but it's just like Woodley's another guy. Talked about Cowboy earlier. I don't even think he has a contract right now. Woodley, I think he fought his contract out. They're probably not going to bring him back. What's the sense of bringing him back? He hasn't won a round in how long?
Yeah, just utter domination.
And he just got knocked out by Luka, and he looked good in that fight. I felt so bad, bro.
Yeah.
He had him wobbled, and he got finished, which sucked. But yeah, guys at 70 just sit out, and like you said, like the big names at the top, it's so much inactivity.
Even like Wonderboy, he's fought one time with Jeff Neal. Like during the pandemic, but prior to that, we didn't see him since the BMF card when he fought Luque.
Right.
So I get if you're like a guy like Masvidal and you wait for a title rematch, but other than that, I think the way Whittaker did it is so commendable, bro. Like you go and you earn your way back. Like there's no way Whittaker's next fight should be for the title.
It was going to be like that was Vittori, but like he said. He's got to nurse himself up. Some injuries.
Well, that and also like Australia and New Zealand have the craziest COVID laws. Like remember Dan Hooker? It took him like 56 days to get back to his family.
The quarantine is
it's
crazy.
Nuts. But also down there, I don't know if you've ever noticed or seen on social media, like they're having concerts.
Yeah,
they're having rugby events with like 50,000 people, no mask or anything. So like what they're doing is tremendous because like they're living as if there's no issues, no COVID.
Right.
But also, like, for Whittaker to then, he has to quarantine for 3 weeks, then go into a training camp, and then...
He has, like, 4 or 5 kids, young kids, a family.
That's a lot. So, like, with Vittori and Adesanya, Vittori finally gets his rematch. He's been saying how, like, yo, I beat Adesanya, then, the split decision loss. I feel like no one could beat Adesanya at 185.
I don't know. We'll see now, like how Jan wrestled him. Granted, Jan is, like, way heavier than he was. He's probably had, like, 30 pounds on him. But we'll see people have tried to wrestle him in the past. I think Brunson tried. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But they will try and wrestle him now. Vittori's pretty big. But Vittori has good striking too. Like he was hanging with him on the feet. But yeah, if Izzy's a tough out, no doubt. And he's in the prime of his career. It's like who else is up there? Vittori, Whittaker. You got to run the Whittaker back. Like that has to be ran back.
Well, yeah, and this new version of Whittaker is going to be interesting. How everyone thought they kind of counted him out after those 2 fights with Romero, and then he loses to Adesanya the way he did.
Like it was like a round.
Yeah,
right?
he got hurt bad though. Like he got dropped at the end of that first round against Adesanya, and then he got finished in the second round.
Yeah.
But then comes back against Till, who's a tough out, comes back against Cannonier, who's this knockout artist and like heavy puncher. He was a heavyweight.
I remember Izzy said before that fight, if Cannonier wins, like he's next.
And then he beat
Gastelum.
So it's like, yo, he's beating these like top 5-6 guys in a row.
Activity, bro.
You have to.
I love it.
Because also, like, one thing with Conor is, since the Khabib fight to Poirier, you kind of throw away that Cowboy fight because it ended in 40 seconds. Like, the sport has evolved so much. So when you're inactive, like, that shit that you were doing 2-3 years ago it might be outdated. It might not work. There might be some new shit. Like, the calf kick now is, like, the wave.
Yeah.
So when you're inactive, bro, that's not good for you.
Yeah, you had 1 round in 2 years. It's like, how much does that help? Like, ring rust might truly be a thing, you know? And like you said, I tried a boxing approach. Like, well, it's not a boxing match. It's an MMA match. And, like, you saw it. Like, the calf kick, he banked him early. And then the second round, like, it was already like a dead leg. He was on 1 leg, and he finished him. Got him out of there.
How do you feel about the UFC right now in 2021? Do you think it's, like, as a fan, are you happy with, like, the product? Are you happy with the fights they're putting together?
Yeah. I feel like I would love to see Khabib fight, but like it's what it is, you know. I can't really be mad at it. But yeah, I love everything they're doing. There's so many good fights. Like this pay-per-view coming up with Burgos and Barbosa is a barn burner. Mm-hmm. There's so many like good and exciting fights. Like Nate Diaz is booked. Like a lot of good guys are booked already. 205, like Jan Glover, I want to see. That's a very interesting fight. Like Glover was probably counted out years ago, and then he goes on this ridiculous dominating win streak. He smoked Anthony Smith. Like he's running through 205 right now. It's only right he gets a send off as a title fight. And then at heavyweight, you have like Francis. Is it Francis versus John Jones? Is it Francis versus Derek Lewis? Like there's just, and I want to see like the real Francis versus Derek Lewis. So like there's so many great fights on the horizon that. Yeah, I just like every weekend. I mean, we're diehard, so we watch like full cards on fight nights. You know what I'm saying? So I just love that there's something to look forward to, and there's usually, even if it's a fight night, there's like 2 or 3 fights. And I'm like, yo, I can't wait to see that fight. Like if you look at this past weekend, Boss and Hill, I was dying to see that fight, and it got canceled because of COVID. But I was like, there's still a couple like really good fights on this card that I'm interested in, and it wound up being a pretty good card.
Yeah, it was.
Like I can't be upset with any, like they put out cards every weekend, so it's hard to be like, oh, this card sucks. Like they're still putting together a card for me to watch, you know, for me to take in as a consumer.
Also, the women's main event was a banger too. Like they were throwing down
it was,
Rodriguez and Waterson too. And yo, man, the UFC does such a good job promoting women fighting. Like women's sports, there's always that conversation of like, you know, WNBA players need more money or should be getting more money and whatnot, and like the pay scale in soccer between the men's team and the women's team. But like with the UFC, it's like they showcase the women better than any sport does showcasing women.
Yeah,
because they make it like, bro, 261. I was more fascinated by the women title fights than I was the main event. One, because we've seen that main event. So maybe that plays into it. But like they were saying how that was the cherry on top. I would have been happy if that was like the pay-per-view alone.
The 2
like
title fights?
If those 2 title fights with the women.
I agree.
I mean, 115 in the women's division is fucking loaded.
It's on fire right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like Tatiana Suarez is like one of the top women. She's out with injury.
Where's she been at?
She has like a broken now. She has like neck issues. But like that's what I'm saying. Like there's so many.
Female Khabib is what they were calling her.
Her wrestling is insane. But Mackenzie Dern surging, like Amanda Hebos beat Mackenzie Dern already, and there's like so much talent at 15. And the video, like we're talking about promoting earlier, like the video packages that the UFC puts together, like even the embeds or the countdowns, like they just do such a good job of documenting things and like getting you hyped up for the fight. If you watch this 15-minute clip, like it's nothing crazy, but it encapsulates like 4 months of training, 4 months of, you know, what they're doing outside the cage, outside of training. Like you get to know them, and you get to like, it makes you like want to root for them. If they're like Valentina's always shooting guns and shit, like jumping, or her sister's a pilot. Like they do all this crazy stuff that you just think they're fighters, but they live such a crazy life outside of the cage. And it's like, oh, like that's badass. Like I want to root for this chick, or I want to root for this guy because he does something that I like. He has a sick hobby or something. Like watching all their products and they're promoting, like It makes you. I feel like it makes you connect more with the fighters.
Of course, it's relatable.
Yeah.
It also gives you a deep dive into like what they actually are.
Right. Outside of the cage, which I love.
Yeah, you know, it was mad funny when Joe Rogan was interviewing Valentina. And he's like, come get some. And she's like, what? He's like, come get some. She's like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because also, like, Valentina gave a mad gangsta ass promo where she was like, for all of the women that say that they got me figured out or they know what they could do to find my weakness, she's like, there's no weakness.
Yeah. I love it. She's like, oh, I hope she does come out and exploit my weakness. Let's see it. I don't know what my weakness is.